Welcome back in the studios, 89.5 FM WSOU. Wrapping up our election coverage tonight on Super Tuesday. Ryan Johnston and Jackson Shank back with you. One final preview of the 2024 election where Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden in just about every single swing state by a pretty healthy margin.
You know, it's definitely cause for concern for the current president of the United States. When you take a look at it, Ryan, you and I were doing the research beforehand, and I mean, every time we were looking at a new state, it was Trump by 4%, Trump by 5%, Trump by 2% in some states, but things are turning red, and that has been the story so far. I mean, we're early. We are heavily early in the look at the 2024 election, and I mean, we have yet to name a Republican candidate. I know that is all but done at this point, but yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But for right now, the voters have been in favor of former President Donald Trump.
You know, even in a state like Georgia, where Biden won in 2020, he flipped it from the 2016 election. Trump won there by 5.1%. In 2020, Biden won by 0.3%. I mean, Trump caught a RICO charge for his activities post-election in Georgia, and yet he's still in the lead by a very healthy margin, nearly double digits.
Yeah, he's crushing. He's crushing in Georgia. And, I mean, I wonder why. When you take a look at someone who is, I mean, we spent an entire segment on this earlier, Ryan and David talking about the criminal trials that he's going through and how he's just managed to continually beat the allegations or manage to stay afloat. He was unanimously passed by the Supreme Court to be on the ballot in Colorado, as you know, Colorado was trying to make a federal move to possibly remove him from the ballot in specific states and start a movement, and they got denied. So things are moving positively in Trump's direction, and I think that is why more and more people are getting behind him. If he continues to prove and dismiss these charges, then I mean, people are going to start rallying behind him, because then he has a clean sheet and he can move forward.
Redfield and Wilton showing that Trump has leads in Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And if he wins all of those states,
I mean, it's over.
It'd be a pretty difficult path for Joe Biden to return to the White House.
They call them the swing states for a reason. The election if it's a tight race, which my guess is in the coming years that it's going to be. I mean, it came down to the wire in the last election, so these are the states that are going to matter. You talk about Trump making sure that he unifies that Republican Party. If he's managing to win each state without even doing it, you wonder what that turnout's going to be like if and when he does unite the Republican Party. Because we were talking earlier about Nikki Haley and the possibility that those voters maybe won't go with Trump or maybe won't push that Republican vote forward in specific states. But as of now, Trump's managing to hold on without it. And just goes to show, the way that people feel about the current president or the representation that the Republican Party is showing in the early polls.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like an interesting time for Biden supporters. Trump's got a healthy lead, and it's still early. And considering Biden's approval rating right now, I don't really know what he's going to be able to do in order to overcome that.
These last 6 months, Ryan, I think are going to be make or break for the Biden administration in order to push his drive for a second term forward. If he can manage to, year 3 to 4 is when we see the most impact from policies that administration has put in. If he can manage to swing this thing differently in the next couple of months, I mean, he has the power to make changes, and if he can, turn that corner in these final 6 months, maybe that changes. Maybe we see something different. Maybe we see resolutions in other parts of the world that stabilizes the economy a little bit more. But for right now, it's not looking pretty.
Checking in on Super Tuesday, California called for Donald Trump. He currently has a very, very healthy lead there. And Utah still far too early to call, but Donald Trump about doubling up Nikki Haley in the early votes that we've seen. So the big story today, Nikki Haley taking Vermont from Donald Trump, the first state that she's won. She's also taken Washington, D.C. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that propels her campaign forward, but for all of us at WSOU, thanks so much for tuning in to our election night coverage. Nikki Haley looking to come through in the clutch in a couple of states. Speaking of clutch, they're coming up next.